Hello everyone, and welcome to our presentation, 3 Ways to Improve Technical Content Efficiency with Content Analytics. I'm Géraldine Boulez, I'm VP of Marketing at Untitled Topics, and I will be your host today. A little bit of housekeeping to start with. We are in a broadcasting mode only. That means that we can't see you, we can't hear you, but you can type your questions in the dedicated tab and we will answer them after the demos. What's on the agenda today? So we'll first have a short intro on content analytics, then we will demonstrate 3 real-life use cases. These use cases come from the best practices we and our customers have experienced with dedicated content analytics. But before we start, I'd like to tell you a bit more about who we are and why we put such a focus on content analytics. So Fleet Topics is a content delivery platform for technical documentation. Our solution helps tech companies bring all their technical content together, whatever the sources and formats, and unify it into a central knowledge hub that delivers on demand the content through all digital channels. So that can be websites, that can be customer portals, support services, field apps, chatbots, whatever you can think of. We do believe that understanding how content is used and consumed is a great lever to improving the content itself. But it's also a great lever to improve your work processes and the services provided to our users. We put that in practice on a daily basis, and that's what we'd like to share with you. To do so, with us today are Liana Inzalaco, technical writer at Antidote, Aude Lemarverrier and Laurent Dosda, product owners, Rémi Beauve, TechDoc and training team lead, and Guillaume Grosjean, customer success manager. Liana will run the demos, and all the team is here to answer your questions just after that. I will just take a couple of minutes to tell you what dedicated content analytics can tell you that the other analytics tools cannot, and why. The key point here is that getting useful metrics for your technical content is tightly related to the content structure itself. What you measure depends on your content structure. The most common analytics tools in use are web analytics, like Google Analytics that you all know. These tools are definitely made for websites that are structured in web pages, and these web pages are mostly marketing units. So web analytics provide great insight on your website traffic down to the page level, that's true, and that's extremely valuable information for marketing purpose in particular. And yeah, I cannot deny that. As a marketing person, I'm just addicted to Google Analytics. But when it comes to tech content, this web page structure doesn't reflect the complexity of technical documentation. Technical content is way more complex than a website. For one product, you have several document types due to the variance, customizations, versions, and languages. Then you have a lot of versions, thousands maybe, of the same document. Even if you could create as many pages as documents, the metrics brought by web analytics wouldn't provide you with any meaningful information. Why is it so? It's because web analytics don't understand your content structure. See what it would look like. We've tried to replicate this kind of web page structure with our own documentation. What it would show is like separate lines for different versions of a given document because it doesn't know that they are related. And then what would you do with thousands of unrelated lines? What you need here is to see the lines grouped together with the possibility to drill down to narrow down your analysis to a certain version of the document. And even more efficient or even more interesting for you would be to go down to the topic itself. So if you want to get metric that you can use for your technical documentation, you need to have a tool that understands the content structure, because if not, you will be getting individual lines that don't make any sense regarding your content, or that really impossible to analyze. But that's not all. To get meaningful numbers, you must capture the interactions that really make sense for your content. It's not the fact that a document was viewed that is of interest for you. A document can be 100-page long. What you need to know is what part of the document was read, down to the paragraph or the topic level. What you need to measure is how long the topic or topics are displayed on screen. And then finally, the reading time is obviously extremely important. but there are other indicators that are really meaningful for your content. What was searched and what was clicked are maybe as important as the information regarding your content itself, the content that was read itself. So knowing also what was searched and not found brings you some information of a tremendous value for your analysis, the analysis of your content. But so much for the talking and for the introduction. For those of you who want to know more on content analytics, we invite you to read our white paper that dives deeper into the subject. We will provide you with a download link in the follow-up email after that. But for now, let's see it work. We're going to start with a demo that we think will be quite relevant to the tech writers and tech documentation teams that joined us for this presentation today. That's their daily work that we're going to speak about. So let's see how content analytics can help prioritize and organize your content work. Leanna, it's up to you now.
Thanks, Geraldine, and welcome everyone. Indeed, prioritizing requests for doc updates is a real challenge, especially when dealing with a lot of these requests. Moreover, there are multiple channels through which requests are made, whether in a chat, in an email, or by using the Fluid Topics feedback feature, which lets end users send feedback directly to tech writers. Just have a look at a ticketing tool like Jira. There's often a huge list of feedback issues to handle. So the question is, where to start? A practical method would be to start by looking at metrics about content consumption in order to identify the trendiest topics. The good news is that Fluid Topics provides a content usage analytics screen for admin users, and it's available directly in the doc portal. When accessing your doc portal, just select the Analytics button, then select the Content Usage tab in the menu on the left. And here we are, on the Content Usage screen. We recommend starting by defining a time range for which to extract the trendiest topics. As an example, the past month option is an acceptable range. To prioritize our doc updates with precision, it's a good idea to refine the metrics. We can do this by filtering by metadata. For example, we can filter by the product version. But one metadata key is often not enough, so let's add a second level by selecting the category metadata. Okay, now we see that technical notes stand out in terms of content usage. Let's have a closer look at which ones. Let's access the most popular technical notes in version 3.9 for the time period we defined previously. The first technical note is about web APIs. That's cool, but we probably have a lot of issues in our backlog asking us to update the web API documentation. Let's dig a little further by accessing this heat map to see which topics get the most attention. Okay, after having a look, the trendiest topics seem to be the ones about web services, but we can explore further by accessing the subsections below this main topic. And here we are. The HTTP headers topic is the most popular. Let's see if we have doc update requests about this particular topic. We'll search in our Jira backlog to see if some issues match this topic. Cool. Now we know which issues are top priority thanks to analytics. Much better than the 200 plus issues we had before, right? We can apply the same method for the second technical note. That second example will perhaps involve a different crew of tech writers who are more qualified to work on this topic.
Great, thank you, Lena. Now we're moving to the second demo. We will now see how content analytics can be leveraged to improve the user experience with your documentation by increasing the findability of your content. So back to you, Lana.
Okay, now in this demo, we'll demonstrate how our search engine is always learning and improving. As you may have already noticed, the Fluid Topics search engine handles variations in letter case, as well as singular and plural forms. It also comes with a spell checker that learns from your content to autocorrect queries that contain a typo. We can make the search engine even more powerful thanks to the Fluid Topics Analytics dashboard. With this dashboard, you can identify the search queries for which there were no results. Just imagine when this happens to a user. They spend all that time trying to find the right keywords to get what they want, but in the end, they get nothing. How frustrating. So to fix this, we can use analytics data to identify search terms that lead to nowhere. Here we are in the Analytics dashboard. We'll go to the Searches with No Results tab. It looks like MD Metadata Management, set up an SEO-friendly URL, upload DITA2 content, easy DITA connector, Ixiosoft setup, and publish content from Companize all returned no results. The first one is an acronym issue. Some users are interested in Markdown, but they used the MD acronym and the search engine didn't understand it. We'll add the synonym so that the search engine will recognize it next time. Other queries were about pretty URLs, but using SEO-friendly URLs didn't work because that is the way other solutions refer to them, like WordPress, for instance. So we will familiarize our search engine with common terms that other companies use to describe what we refer to with our own jargon. We'll do that by telling our search engine that SEO-friendly URL and pretty URL are synonyms. Our search engine will handle the difference between singular and plural automatically. Some users were also looking for DITA connectors, but they used the name of the software vendors who sell them. Maybe they wanted to know if we support DITA content from each of these vendors. And indeed, our DITA connector ingests DITA content from all of them, but our documentation does not specifically name these vendors. Now, we can't just say that the names of the vendors are synonyms of DITA, because that is not true. Instead, we will use a taxonomy to add them to our system. We'll tell the search engine that DITA has a more precise concept, named DITA vendors, which itself has more precise terms like Ixiosoft, EasyDITA, Companize, and DITA2. Of course, thanks to the spell checker, there's no need to manage all the typos that could possibly happen. The next step is to go to the Vocabularies tab of the Administration menu and create a new vocabulary. In a nutshell, here's what we'll do. We will add a synonym for Markdown and its acronym MD. Then we'll add synonyms for SEO-friendly URL and pretty URL. Lastly, we'll add a taxonomy for DITA and the software vendors. When we're done, we'll need to reprocess our content to apply our newly created vocabularies. Let's have a look in more detail. Once we're in the Vocabularies tab, we'll need a Spreadsheet Editor that can save a file in CSV format. We'll use Microsoft Excel, but you can use LibreOffice or Apple Numbers if you prefer. In the Vocabularies Administration interface, there is an example that you can download and modify, or you can start from scratch. Let's open our Excel. In the first line, you need to define the language of your list of synonyms. For us, this will be English. We'll use the language code, EN, and the country code, US. Then we'll add Markdown and its acronym, MD, as synonyms. Let's do the same for SEO-friendly URL and pretty URL. And lastly, let's explain to our search engine that data is sold by different vendors. Let's save our file in CSV format and add it to the list of vocabularies in Fluid Topics. Now that our vocabulary exists, we'll just have to update it regularly if we find some new synonyms to add. Let's reprocess our content so that the search engine can apply these new synonyms to all our content. Just to be sure, we'll search for these terms and we'll make sure that we do not wind up with no results. Et voilà, there we have it. Users now get the results they expect. Okay, and finally, in this last demo, we'll demonstrate how Fluid Topics helps your support team be more efficient and have more time to focus on unresolved issues instead of taking questions that have already been answered. We'll discover how to identify the documentation that is most important to users and make it available with just one click, thanks to the Fluid Topics Analytics dashboard. With this dashboard, you can easily identify the most frequent queries, the most popular documents, and the most popular search facets. Based on this data, you can promote the documentation that has the most value for your customers by linking to it directly on the home page. This saves precious time for the support team because users have answers to their most frequently asked questions at their fingertips. Your customers are thus more self-sufficient and can manage on their own without having to ask for help. We'll have a look at 3 tabs of the Analytics dashboard. Let's start with the first one. Let's go to Analytics, Search, and Search Terms. Here, we see queries with similar themes. The first group of queries is API, use Fluid Topics web APIs, and web service. The second is configure SSO realm, and configure OpenID Connect. And the third is configure automatic pretty URL generation. To make customers' lives easier, I will create a tile on the home page so that they can access documentation about these 3 themes with one click. In a new tab, I open the administration menu, then I go to Portal, Home Page, and Tiles. I create a new tile and I name it Most Frequent Searches. The first one is API Web Service. I add the link to the documentation here. The second is Configure SSO. I search for that one and add the link to the top results here. And the third is Configure Pretty URL Templates. So of course, we'll add that one too. I'll save the new tile, and here it is with a preview, so we can get a sneak peek of the result. Now let's have a look at the second tab of the Analytics dashboard, which is called Most Popular Documents. I can see that Use Fluid Topics Web APIs is the document that users read most often, followed by the Fluid Topics Configuration and Administration Guide. I open the heat map to discover what part of this document is most popular, and I see Configure Authentication and Configure Portal. The third document is the Fluid Topics Release Notes version 3.9. These 3 documents represent around 20% of those users opened recently. I will now use this information to create shortcuts to these documents in a new tile, once again on the home page. It's almost the same process. I'll create a new tile called Featured Documents. The first one is Use Fluid Topics APIs, so we'll add the link to that document here. The second is Fluid Topics Configuration and Administration Guide, and here's the link to that one. And the third is the release notes. We will filter on version 3.9 and add that link. Let's have a look at the preview. Et voila! Shortcuts to the most popular documents are available to users right here on the home page. Let's now have a look at a third tab of the Analytics dashboard, which shows us the facets users select to filter search results. The idea here is to make sure that the facets I have configured on the home page are really the ones users want and need. Let's go to Search, Facets. Here we see the facet Product, and inside Product, Fluid Topics is the most popular. The second facet is Version, and inside of this one, 3.9 is obviously the most used, as it is the latest version available. The third most used facet is Category. Categories are quite equal, and here I see a strange value. Reference Guide and Reference Guides with an S. I realize that there is a problem with the values of this facet. I'll take care of it later, but I'm happy to have discovered it here. So all this data is very actionable. We'll get straight to work, making it helpful for customers. The last thing to check is the UI. Did the filters you expose on the home page and/or the search page help the end user? Let's check. On the home page, the first filter is Product. Okay, it's a big hit among users. The second filter is Platform. We could remove it from the home page because users do not seem to need it. The third one is FT version. Okay, we could even imagine putting that first since it's used a lot. And then we have Category, which is fine. Let's make these modifications. We'll go to the Administration menu, then Portal, Homepage, and the Search tab. This is where we can select facets to enable or disable. For example, I can delete the AFS version facet in one click. Then I select Save, and that's it. And now let's have a look at the facets on the search page. The first one is Product, which is okay. The second one is Platform. We want to demote this one. The third is FT version, or Fluid Topics version. That's okay. The fourth is AFS at store version. We'll demote that one. The fifth is Operating System, also to be demoted. And the sixth is Category, which we want to promote. Let's do all this with a few clicks. Et voilà, there we have it. Customers are self-sufficient, they are able to find the answers they need quickly, and your support team is able to focus on tasks that bring more value to your company. Okay, so that's all for the demo we wanted to share with you today. Thanks for your attention, and now we would be pleased to answer any questions you may have.